June 6, 1944. Near a Norman crossroads called Neuville-aux-Plaines, a 25-year-old sergeant from New York is alone behind a machine gun. His company has already pulled back. He hasn't. Technical Sergeant Robert Niland has chosen to stay, and he knows exactly what that choice means. The next morning, 7 miles away on Utah Beach, his younger brother Preston will lead men against a German gun battery. He will not come back either. Within 7 days, a mother in a small town near Buffalo will open her front door 3 times. 3 telegrams. 3 sons. Tonawanda sits on the Niagara River, a working-class town of shipyards and lumber mills just north of Buffalo. It was home to Michael Niland and his wife, and to their 4 sons, Edward, Preston, Robert, and Frederick. By 1944, all 4 were in uniform, scattered across 4 different units, on opposite sides of the planet. That separation was not an accident. It was policy, written in blood 2 years earlier, after another American family lost 5 sons on a single sinking ship. The Nilands would not be allowed to make that same mistake. This is Echoes of Valor X. Today, we tell the true story of the Niland brothers of Tonawanda, New York, the real family behind Steven Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan. Edward Niland, the eldest, was born in 1912. He joined the Army Air Forces and trained as a flight engineer and gunner on a B-25 Mitchell bomber, flying missions over the jungles of Burma. Preston, born in 1915, became a second lieutenant in the 22nd Infantry Regiment, 4th Infantry Division, a rifle officer training for the invasion everyone knew was coming. Robert, born in 1919, jumped into the war as a paratrooper, Technical Sergeant, D Company, 505th Parachute Infantry Regiment, 82nd Airborne Division, and the youngest, Frederick, Fritz to everyone who knew him, born in 1920, wore the wings of the 101st Airborne Division, H Company, 501st Parachute Infantry Regiment. In England, before the invasion, Fritz had become close friends with 2 other paratroopers, Warren Muck and Donald Malarkey, of E Company, 506th Regiment, the men who would later become famous as the Band of Brothers. 4 brothers, 4 branches of the same war. The Army had split them up on purpose, a lesson learned in November 1942, when the USS Juneau went down off Guadalcanal and the 5 Sullivan brothers of Iowa died together in the same instant. After that, the military adopted what became known as the sole survivor policy. Siblings, wherever possible, would not serve side by side. By the spring of 1944, none of that policy had been tested. It was about to be. On May 16, 1944, Edward's B-25 was hit over Burma. He bailed out over the jungle, was reported missing, and presumed dead. His family did not yet know it, but Edward had survived the jump, only to be captured and marched into a Japanese prisoner of war camp. 3 weeks later came D-Day. On the morning of June 6th, Robert's company was holding the approach to Neuville-aux-Plaines when a German advance forced a withdrawal. Robert stayed at his machine gun to cover it, alongside Corporal James Kelly. Kelly survived. Robert did not. The next day, June 7th, at the Crispec Battery above Utah Beach, Preston led his men in an assault on a German gun position. He was killed by enemy fire. In the space of 24 hours, 2 Niland brothers were gone. A third was already presumed dead in a jungle 6,000 miles away. Back in Tonawanda, the War Department's telegrams began arriving. In 1 week, Mrs. Niland answered her door 3 separate times. 3 notices, 3 sons, Edward missing, Robert killed, Preston killed. Only one brother's fate was still unknown. Fritz, somewhere in the hedgerows of Normandy, had no idea what had happened to his family. 9 days after D-Day, Fritz went looking for his brother Bob. He made his way to the 82nd Airborne's command post to find him, and was told instead that Bob had been killed on the first day of the invasion. Word of the Niland family's losses reached the chaplain of the 501st Parachute Infantry Regiment, Father Francis Sampson. Sampson had already survived his own ordeal in Normandy, captured once, and famous among the men for staying behind under fire to treat wounded paratroopers rather than retreat with his unit. Here's where it gets strange. When the War Department learned that 3 of the 4 Niland brothers were gone, They made a decision almost never applied before: pull the last brother out of the war entirely. Father Samson was given the job of finding Sergeant Frederick Niland in the middle of an active combat zone and getting him out. Samson found him. He personally escorted Fritz back through the lines to Utah Beach for evacuation to England, and eventually, home. Fritz did not ask to leave his men. He was ordered to. As Fritz was being processed for the flight home, one more telegram reached Tonawanda. Edward, reported dead over Burma, was alive. A prisoner of the Japanese, captured May 16, 1944. He had spent nearly a year in a POW camp before Allied forces liberated it on May 4, 1945. He came home weighing 80 pounds. 2 brothers returned to Tonawanda. 2 never left Normandy. Preston and Robert are buried side by side at the American Cemetery above Omaha Beach, at Colleville-sur-Mer. Fritz was sent back to England, then to New York, where he finished out the war as a military policeman. He was awarded the Bronze Star. He never fired another shot in anger. His story did not disappear. Historian Stephen Ambrose documented it in his book on the 101st Airborne. And in 1998, Steven Spielberg built a film around a soldier searching for the last surviving brother of a grieving family. Private James Ryan, on movie screens around the world, was loosely built from Sergeant Frederick Niland. Fritz never traded on that. After the war, he earned a degree from Georgetown University's dental school and became an oral surgeon, practicing in the same corner of New York he grew up in. For most of his life, Fritz rarely spoke about Normandy. What his daughters knew, they learned mostly in his later years, in fragments. He died in December 1983. Near the end, his one request was simple: make sure to honor all the men. At his funeral, the names of every soldier of Company H were read aloud. Edward outlived him by less than a year, dying in Tonawanda in 1984. Preston and Robert have rested in Normandy since 1944, 2 markers among the thousands on that hillside above the beach they died taking. 4 brothers from one small town near Buffalo. 2 graves in France, 2 graves at home. A policy written because of them, and a film that carried their story to a world that never knew their names. America still stands because of men like this. Subscribe so these men are never forgotten.